Alrighty everyone, Phil here, and welcome back to my react of the Engoodening of No Man's Sky by Internet Historian. Essentially, that first half of this video is all about the hype leading up to the launch of the game and the fail of the launch of the game, which basically did not live up to anyone's expectations. Now, it now sounds like this is going to be the fallout and the aftermath of all of that, which hopefully will have some kind of a redemption arc. Let's find out. Here we go.
Really tough and probably at the time seemed really foolish decision. It's kind of
This is a much younger Sean Murray, as you can see. Talking about Joe
I
Danger.
sold my house and just basically went all in and funded what we were doing, which is not something I would recommend anyone else do.
But by June 8th, 2010, they had done it. The game was good. And they could breathe a sigh of relief because on the very first day it hit the PlayStation Store, they made their money back.
Wow, that's awesome.
2 years later, Joe Danger 2 was released. It was not the commercial success they had hoped for, and they didn't want to just keep pumping out sequels.
Yeah, like we just
that was
Call
a
of
trap
Duty
big players in the industry had fallen into. In his spare time, Sean started working on a prototype for a procedurally generated game. They took another gamble and scrambled to get a trailer out in time to present at VGX 2013. So the project is official now, and the pressure is on. Around this time, Sean is also looking to start a family.
With
Concurrent to
himself.
all this development, he would go on to have 3 kids. So the weight of responsibility is really piling on.
Yeah.
But their hard work will pay off, as they're finally going to have a chance for some R&R around Christmas.
I will just say this, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this. All right, just full disclosure, for those who don't know me, I am not a parent. I have a pet, but I'm not a parent, okay? That was a decision that I made for myself, along with my wife, that we didn't want to have kids. And now I'm in my 40s. I'm probably never going to have kids. I don't think it's in the cards for me. But quite frankly, I do feel, and you can disagree with me, and that's fine, there's a lot of people out there who put themselves into life situations and jobs where they're basically not compatible with being a parent. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're in an incredibly risky job, if you're in a job that's insanely high stress, insanely high demand for what you're doing, then why are you going to have 3 kids? And by the way, I'm not crapping on Sean Murray specifically here. I'm saying in general, in life, it seems like there is this belief system that everyone is entitled to things. You're entitled to a family with multiple children, and this way that, we need to have this Americana life. There's this thing in America, I don't know about internationally, but here in the United States, there's this feeling you should have a house with a nice fence around it and a lawn, and you should have, either a significant other, a spouse, a bunch of kids, pets. Like, this is all just expected. This is the American way. And if you don't have that, you failed in life, right? And in reality, that's not true. In reality, there's many different ways you can go through life and be happy and be successful and be accomplished. It's not just that one established way, but it seems like that's what everyone kind of always is trying to work towards here. And if you don't do it, you see people who literally say that. They'll say, there's people who will say to me that because I'm in my 40s and I don't have kids, that I'm a failure, right? That what are you talking about? Just because I chose not to have kids, I'm a failure? Like, that's ridiculous. I feel like there's people out there who get so pressured, you know what I'm saying, that then they end up doing that, but wait a minute, what about everything else in your life? Did you forget about that? He's a guy who's in charge of an indie game studio. They're crunching constantly to finish games. Do you think he should be sitting down having 3 kids right now? How is he going to continue to operate as the head of this studio that's going to pump out this next-gen, amazing, blow-your-mind-away, procedurally generated, never-before-done space game, but you're also going to be a parent to 3 children, a spouse to a wife? What are you thinking? At some point, you have to take a look at your life and say, what am I doing? Is this something I should or not be doing? And, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a family. Go for it. But maybe if you have that family, then you can't be the head of this kind of a game studio. This is a job that's going to be insanely demanding of you, right? So I see a story like this, and it was funny that Internet Historian brought it up. I think it's a very valid point to emphasize that. To say that as he's putting himself into this insane, risky situation, he's also trying to do all the other things that everyone else in America tries to do at the same time. Something's going to give somewhere. right? I think what we're looking at is the reasons why possibly he got into the situation he did with No Man's Sky. This could definitely be one of them. Insane pressure from every direction to perform, right? So, again, you know, I think some people need to stop with the whole cultural expectations, cultural norm bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like it's time to look at yourselves inward and say, what is it that I should do with my life, and be happy with that. You don't have to have the full family unit with multiple kids and all these responsibilities and have a great job and do this and do that. It's ridiculous. A lot of people are never going to have that. So now what? You're supposed to go through your whole life depressed because you didn't live up to society's norms and expectations? Sounds like that's what happened to this guy. He had to have it all. I have to have the indie game studio that I'm running. I have to have successful games. I have to have the family life. I have to have this. I have to have that. Well, how's it going to work? Well, you're going to clone yourself, right? So maybe this is a cautionary tale for some people. I don't know. But I think it was interesting that he mentioned it like that. He didn't have to mention that at all, and he specifically brought it up, obviously for a reason. I think that's a good thing to bring up in this point, okay? I just received a $5 tip from Sean H. He says, been enjoying your content all weekend. I wish you could contribute some more, but please keep on grinding. Thank you so much, Sean. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Don't ever apologize for contributing and then saying it's not enough. That's absolutely ridiculous. Anyone here, thank you. Anyone watching on demand, thank you. Anyone who clicked like, thank you. Anyone who left a comment or talked to me in chat, thank you. Anyone who's just watching in general, thank you. Anyone who contributed in any way today, a membership, a gifted membership, anything, you know, a tip, a super chat, thank you. That's why I'm still here after 15 years, guys. You gotta understand that. It's a group effort. Don't ever apologize. You do more than enough. Thank you so much. Let's continue. Misfortune Knox.
They woke up to find their homes flooded, their cars submerged, and their plans for Christmas Day very much ruined.
Bad news. Rain. Rain and flooding in the south of England.
Oh, really?
Right around the Hello Games office. They are completely inundated, and they return from their holidays to find laptops floating around at waist height.
Wow.
But some good news. They hadn't lost any data. So they pull together. Soldier on. Development continues. So there they are, working in a damp office, and then ding dong. Ooh, who's at the door? It's Danish mathematician Dr. Johan Gerlis. He's seen the game, and he says, they are using my super formula in perfect English, and there is a potential for a lawsuit. Sean says they didn't, and he can prove it. So they have a meeting, and the claim is eventually dropped. Lawsuit evaded. So back to work, guys. Ding dong. It's Sky Television. They've seen the game.
You are infringing on our Sky trademark.
They said
Oh,
in
because of
perfect
No Man's
text-to-speech,
Sky? What?
They had succeeded in getting Microsoft to change SkyDrive to OneDrive, and they were about to give gamers No Man's 1 under threat of lawsuit. But this lawsuit didn't just go away. The threat loomed over them for the next 3 years.
What the hell? Why?
Right
It's
up until the
frivolous as
month
shit.
before release. So they get back to work, and ding dong. It's Sony, with some good news for once. We like your game, kid. We want to feature it front and center and make you a big star.
And they
This could
backfired.
mean millions of dollars in additional revenue. They said, yeah. But along with it, a lot of press for this game
Yep,
would need to be
and that's
done.
where it all went south.
Being a small team, they didn't have anyone for PR. They had their designers, they had their developers, and that was about it. So it's up to Murray. Sean's in his early 30s now. Not super young, but relatively young, and inexperienced for this type of media circuit. This deal with Sony put extra pressure on them. It set deadlines. It's not that it's Sony's fault, but they're locked in now with much less flexibility. So when May rolls around, and they have no option but to delay, even if they wanted to ask for an extra 6 to 12 months of development, which they really need, it's probably too much to ask for. So they extend from late June to August. Only 6 weeks. From here, you can predict what's going to happen to multiplayer and a bunch of other promised features.
Yeah, it was inevitable.
So here's how the hype happened. Scope of game. Time. And here's the line which shows the reality of development. Progress is steady and
Can
ends
practically
in August
achieve.
2016. Now here is the line of player expectations. It should start out here and follow along the purple.
Yep.
But the overhyping trailer comes out and puts us way up here. In this trailer, it features a bunch of things
This is special.
that Hello Games thinks they're capable of having in the game by 2016. That's the first big mistake.
Yep, I
Then
agree.
it's announced for PlayStation, and it costs $60, and there's a collector's edition. Second, even bigger mistake. That puts us all the way up here. And I think this is the main problem. Because price tags set expectations.
Absolutely right. If
For
this game had
60
been sold for $20, $30, no one would have had these expectations. But the moment you're saying we're selling it for full retail price, everyone is expecting the same scope and level of polish and quality as any $60 game from any major studio, and that's where they went wrong for sure.
$1 game, this was seriously barren and disappointing. Now, if they had put it out for $20 as an indie game or an alpha, no problem. But when they gave it the AAA treatment, people rightfully aligned their expectations with other games in that
Yeah,
category.
look, here we go. Perfect example.
That is the
There
main
you go.
reason customers' expectations were so skewed. Then Murray went to interviews, exacerbating the problem. Every time he mentioned a feature in the game, even in passing, fans set their expectations to AAA heights for that feature. Now, some people think the interviews are the main problem. In my humble opinion, not so much. Most people never saw these interviews. It's not that rickety 12-foot ladder Sean's standing on that's the main problem. It's the 900-foot building he's perched it on in the first place. So the obvious solution here would be an official statement.
Honestly, yes and no. Yes, it's the AAA problem. The other problem is, I hate to say it, the games media. Because, like he just said, well, no one saw those interviews. I mean, you may be right, except the games media did. And then the next morning, the games media has the ginormous front page story saying, hey, guess what? No Man's Sky will have this. No Man's Sky will have that. No Man's Sky will have this. And that was the real problem, right? If you just said these things and no one saw it, then who cares? The problem is these things were being said constantly and then echoed. A giant echo chamber for anything that he said. And again, he's a small-time guy. He's not expecting that every word that he says is going to go into the echo chamber. And that's what happened, you know? So, yeah, I mean, yes, the problem was he was already being treated as, like, the god of AAA. He was a huge AAA game developer. He wasn't. He was an indie developer. But then on top of that, everything he's saying is being extrapolated and yelled with a megaphone across the gaming landscape by games media.
Hey guys, look, don't expect a 10 out of 10. Expect more of a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, look.
No, the publisher just sank an enormous investment of marketing and opportunity into the game.
Right.
What's wrong with you?
And
What's
that would
wrong
be
with
a
you?
huge middle finger to them. The publisher isn't going to make you hype the shit out of your game, but you can't talk it down either. So, it's kind of stuck up there. In some ways, during the interview, he tries to temper expectations, but it's limited.
Can you build a space station?
No.
True lies.
But let's not gloss over the interviews. Sean is a technical guy. He's a developer. He's also the introverted type. And the big lights and the stuff on camera does not come naturally to him.
Is it super nerve-wracking to talk on stage at E3?
Yes. Yes, definitely. I personally find going on stage at E3 like the hardest thing I've ever done. That's something that I would have had in a nightmare before. You know what I mean? It's
literally the hardest thing you've ever done?
Yeah.
Still, he stepped up and took interviews for his game
Constant
from
interviews.
2013 to 2016.
Okay, so this is obviously a troll here. I'm just going to get rid of him. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's continue.
And the main thing people wanted to hear about were the features.
Can you have more than...
So every planet will there be wormholes?
Right.
At what point...
Do you get points or anything?
From these interviews, people took Sean to be a liar, a Peter Molyneux or a chess club member out to sell his game at whatever reputation
I gotta call
it
him a
cost.
Peter Molyneux.
But I think the truth is more complicated than that. Sean and the team are indie developers working on a new IP. Their project and plans are constantly in flux. They have no idea how large chunks of the game are going to look, especially not a couple of years out from release. And crucially, Sean doesn't understand that something mentioned in 2013, even said in passing, is going to be seen as a promise in the year 2016.
Exactly. Again, it's the echo chamber made those small-time promises that he's probably said a million times about Joe Danger and stuff, but put them into a world stage, and now everyone is expecting and believing that, and he wasn't ready for that level of expectation.
Even if by then you've decided to cut it from the game. For example, orbiting around the sun.
Day has turned it out because the planet has actually rotated on its axis.
This originally was in the game, but it caused the player too much confusion. It kept being reported as a bug in the beta, as people left the planet and then returned to find everything different. But nonetheless, into the lying compilation it goes. So while they're still essentially formulating the game, the media all want a piece of Sean and to report on features first. Conversely, Sean thinks the reporters might help him to temper down things by emphasizing that Hello Games is an indie studio. But that is not how journalism is done.
Nope.
This is how journalism is done.
Here we go.
Can you customize the look of your character?
Sort of.
Full customization confirmed in No Man's Sky. Periodic table to create atmospheric particles that would diffract light at just the right.
Yes, there are different elements in the game, but Hello Games never said the atmosphere had diffracting particles or wavelengths. Publish it anyway. Yeah, see, when he desired the possibility of green skies, the team had to redesign the periodic table to create atmospheric particles that would diffract light. So they made it up. Like, they literally made up all this stuff. Great.
Wavelength.
Who the fuck told you?
The press kind of operates downstream from the community because things are click-driven as to what stories you get served and things like that. But a rumor would surface from Reddit straight to the front page.
There's all this hype, and the project has increased in scope dramatically and keeps increasing as the months go by until a point. They are close to the deadline and have to delay, and the reality of what they can achieve in the little time remaining is staring them in the face.
Yep, and they're done. They know they're done.
know
At this
they're
point,
not
they
gonna
know
be
they're
putting
going to
out a
release it, and
finished
they're
game.
fucked.
They're worried.
Yep.
There's nothing more they can do. And the fear that they will disappoint the audience is growing on Sean and the team.
I worry about, like, disappointing people.
Upon release, all of these clips are seen as proof that Sean is a liar. And what doesn't help is his body language. I mean, it's kind of the body language of someone who is lying.
Or defeated.
And this is why I mentioned he's an introvert. Remember, he's a technical lead. Actually, a really good one. But not a salesman. Cut him just a little bit of slack, because this is simply how he talks. Here are some innocuous questions, and he answers them honestly.
Lead producers on No Man's Sky?
Yeah, I guess I'm a developer on it. I suppose the creator or something like that. No, I really like making games. I don't necessarily love talking about making games.
I think you did a good job,
even though you guys are very nice.
Mate, seriously.
Same body language. And Jesus Christ, they have him up on stage and in front of cameras and bright lights and on the goddamn Colbert Report.
All right.
Try keeping your nerve on that. Nonetheless, free of that context, the clips have him cemented in the community as a liar.
Yeah. No, I do believe he had every intention of having all those features in the game. He absolutely wanted them, and they just couldn't happen. But he wasn't expecting to have the expectations and the backlash. He just wasn't ready for it. He was an indie game developer. He was pulled in a million directions in his personal life, too. How is he going to ever deliver any of those?
So the graph plays out right to release. And that graph, it's actually a track. And that track is what the hype train runs on. So it comes barreling up the hill. Instead of neatly pulling into the station, it comes crashing right through the roof. The disaster unfolds. They are absolutely shit on. So there were Sean and Hello Games, surrounded by the rubble of their former reputation. Punished Sean was at his lowest point, hated by the majority of the gaming community. But they were still alive, and they had made tens of millions of dollars. They were left with two choices. Take the money, start a new project, and be a pariah, a cautionary tale of the industry and hated by the gaming community forever. Or pick themselves up, get back to work, and with potentially no profit motive, finish the game.
And I am interested about this because my question is, What allowed them to do that? Have they blown all their money? Have they literally taken all the money they made on the initial sales and just blown it all on improving the game over the years and made no extra money, and now they're done? Can they even make another game that's not No Man's Sky? Or are they stuck in an endless loop with this game forever because of the choice they made? So let's see here.
It's something that I've always done in difficult times, whether it was crappy bosses that I've dealt with before or crappy situations at school growing up. I got my head down, I sat in front of a computer, and I made games, which is what I enjoy.
They picked number 2.
Right.
So, here's the plan. The team is assigned to fixing bugs and the most obvious problems. Go. Sean tells the team to stop reading all the overwhelmingly negative feedback on the game, and he reroutes all of it to his personal devices. Emails, forum posts, Google News alerts, player feedback, it's all going directly to him now. Then he starts breaking that down into data sets. People who haven't bought the game, people who have bought it and played it for 100 hours, people who have returned it, etc. Then he starts compiling those complaints into usable data, focusing on the people with the most sincere experience of the game. Then we start making a big laundry list of all the things that need adding and prioritizing. First thing to fix is that full inventory.
It's
Then
always
community mod support. Then a third thing, etc., etc. This is going to take an enormous amount of work to pull off, and they're not going to make the same mistake twice. So they would need to sharply adjust their PR strategy. Anything they said right now, an admission of guilt,
I've made a severe...
would be met with
Oh,
criticism.
God.
Denial,
Motherfucking Paul brothers.
not that bad, would be met with criticism. Corporate speak, well, we endeavored to make the best game we could, and we are proud of what we have, would be met with criticism. Half of the problems have been caused by speaking too much. So they were going to do a complete 180. Instead of adding more fuel to the fire, instead of accidentally promising fixes that might also
Oh,
not
God.
be delivered, they wouldn't speak to the press again.
Female traits you're talking about, I'd say that's a generalization, but you've used...
They were going to speak to the community directly from now on. So they told the audience they were working on it and went completely silent.
Yep.
1 day passed. No word. 2 days. A week. Have you heard from Hello Games? They just had this disastrous release. Nope, haven't seen them. I hope they're working on the game. 2 weeks. Dude, are you working on this thing? Just ignore them.
meme.
Just work. 3 weeks. Okay, what the fuck is going on?
WTF, it's locked.
A month. They took the fuck money and ran, didn't they? Don't say anything, it's not going to help.
He's right.
2 months. 3 months.
Heavy rain.
By now, most people were convinced that the game was abandoned. They had made their money. It's all over. Then, after over 100 days of absolute silence, a tweet. Foundation. The first big patch. It is me, Sean. No, go away, Sean. I am mad at you. It has been too long. But I bring you gifts. Its accent sucks. It brought base building, new game modes, farming, camps, and friends.
Come on,
as well as
come
a lot
on.
of bug fixes.
I love these memes.
You'll have to try harder than that, Sean, to win my love back. It still fell well shy of the promised game. Too little, too late. So Sean left, returned to his team, and got back to work. A few more months went by, and then another tweet. Pathfinder.
What do we have here? I waited for like 3 or 4 to come out, and then I played it again. I waited for like a few of them to come out to see what all the changes were together.
Oh, it's usual. I bring you online base sharing, own multiple starships, starship specialization, multi-tool specialization and classes, permadeath
freaking
modes,
Swiss Army knife.
vehicles you can drive around in, and create racetracks for them too with time trials.
That's the kid who does taste tests.
Look at this.
Taste tests.
Okay, that's pretty good, but I'm still mad, and there's still a ton promised that isn't in the game yet. So Sean went away once more. A few more months went by. Knock, knock. Oh, it's you, Sean. What is it now? I bring you an overhaul to the storyline. new worlds, crashed freighters, space combat, terrain editing, portals, procedural mission system, interstellar trading,
maybe it was
and
around
joint
now that I played
exploration.
it. I'm trying to remember.
By now, people were
which
really
update it
starting to
was.
warm to No Man's Sky again, and to Hello Games.
The game has in many ways exceeded what was promised.
It's a substantially better game now.
No Man's Sky is back, baby!
People saw this was an honest effort to fix the game, and the number of employees working on it was growing, from a studio of 15 to 25. Sean Murray and Hello Games social media also started becoming more active and engaging with the audience. The subreddit was flourishing once more. The price of the game secondhand on Amazon, eBay, and GameStop was going up. Then a few more months went by. Next, a really big patch.
Oh my god. Holy shit! I just got goosebumps.
To be super clear, No Man's Sky is not fuck that. It's the full and proper multiplayer experience. Ringed planets, third-person mode, character
So they
customization.
put it all in there eventually.
A galactic atlas
So
on
I
an
played
external
it.
website.
I played it before that. So to be clear, I played it probably like the year after, like 2017 into 2018, and I remember going into it. Some people were like, "You absolutely need to try it again. The game now feels like a new game, a different game, and play it." And I did. And here's what happened: the graphics were better, and a lot of the game bugs from the original game were fixed. But it was still a boring ass game. It was still the same loop that he had mentioned at the beginning of the game, which is land on a planet, press the trigger to mine shit, craft shit, leave the planet, go to the next planet. That was literally the entirety of the game, and it still was that. Like, they didn't change that. That was still the gameplay loop, and it wasn't fun. It just was not a fun game to play. It was functional now, but it was just not fun. So for me, I wrote it off. After about a year of owning the game and playing it at launch and hating it, and then playing it a year later when all 3-4 of those patches had come out, I still hated it. I said, well, I'm never going to like this game, and I never went back. Now, apparently, we still have 9 minutes left. I think they're probably going to talk about he did add all the other shit. Like, apparently there's multiplayer now. Like, everything he said would be in it is in it, so.
For the community. Vast overhauls to base building and crafting and resources.
Yeah, look at this.
And it also brought the game to Xbox.
Yes, instead of just
in
PlayStation.
Fact, with the release of Next in July 2018, No Man's Sky was the 6th top-selling console game for the month. It climbed its way back into Steam's top 10.
Wow.
It reached nearly 100,000 concurrent players. It brought another $24 million across all platforms.
Did not know that.
This Steam rating went from mixed to very positive. People were getting back on board in a big way. But they weren't done yet. Better creatures, weird underwater shit.
Oh, that's cool that there's
Discoveries and
underwater
bases,
stuff. I didn't even know
environments,
that.
and equipment. And it keeps going. New biomes, more diversity, archaeology, more things to discover. By now, Sean and the gaming inspector, personification of the gaming community, had literally patched things up and were making
Yes.
which was when he released his biggest patch to date of this video.
Oh my god, dude!
Free VR support. Not a whole other game you have to pay
VR
for, like
support
some
too.
titles.
Damn.
Overhauls to NPCs, tech trees, base building, streamlined multiplayer, ride animals around. All sorts of stuff that was never promised in the first place. And they're still adding more stuff.
Someone at Valve, who was a fan of the game, said to me, what you do now is more important than what you say. There's only one thing that's credible, and that's your actions.
In fact, I was so slow to get this video out that they put out another patch the other day with ship salvaging, ship upgrading, more advanced terrain editing, first-person exocrafts, improved VR, improved base building and inventory management, and quality of life stuff. It goes on. Is it perfect? Technically, there are still things on this spreadsheet missing. But come on now, we're starting to nitpick. Especially when you compare them to relationships with other games companies. They could have gone the route of Fallout 76. Paywall mods with Fallout first, charging a monthly fee, a downward spiral more and more into pay-to-win scraps released without QA testing. But instead, they never added pay-to-win. They never added microtransactions or paid DLC.
That's very reputable.
They never made
there.
VR as a second game. They didn't give up on the game or scale their resources back to do it.
Which is what happened with Anthem. Anthem failed at launch, and then they just gave up on the game and dumped it within a year, and it's dead now.
They didn't come out and call all gamers entitled. They didn't add loot boxes. They didn't start work on the next big project or sequel.
Which is shocking, because you would think they've decided move on to the next. That's what I thought would happen. I thought they would just take that money and be like, move on to the next project. This one's dead, and start something anew. And they did not do that. And definitely to their credit, they've tried to redeem this game.
They didn't do much of anything except get back to work. And just like that, the game once panned by critics now had awards rolling in.
Huh.
Your developed star 2019, No Man's Sky, Sean Murray.
No Man's Sky next.
No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky's next.
No Man's Sky.
And to cap it all off, the subreddit No Man's Sky the game even got together and pooled money for a GoFundMe to have a billboard installed near the Hello Games offices.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice.
It must have been a harrowing moment for Sean and the team. They took a huge risk to start a small studio. They clawed their way up to create one of the most notable games of the console generation. Disappointed pretty much everyone with the release, and took one of the biggest online beatings in video game history for it.
As a family, post-release, we faced some really difficult challenges. Everything that you can imagine from like the worst of the internet, we hit.
But then over the course of the next 3 years, completely turned it around and came out the other side with a win. It's the underdog story. And after doing all of this research, I couldn't help but come to the conclusion that they were the good guys. So what is the future for Hello Games? In 2017, they announced Hello Labs, a support program focused on original titles and games using procedural generation. Two of the team also branched off to work on a small title called The Last Campfire.
Wow. Never heard of that.
But for the foreseeable future, they're just working on No Man's Sky.
They'll fucking announce a new game the moment this video goes live. I just know it, but they didn't. Here we are. This was what, 2019 this video came out? So almost 4 years later. And they still aren't working on any significant new game. Maybe there's some indie stuff I've heard of, but no, I haven't heard of Hello Games really doing much of anything big, right? I mean, we can confirm that. But I'm almost positive that they're still working on this. The top search was Hello Games new game. Seriously. Nothing. The Last Campfire came out in 2020. That's it. They haven't done another game since. They're only working on No Man's Sky. Still. Wow. There is a story from 2022. It says, the next game is not a No Man's Sky sequel, but it's going to be something also of large scope. But they've learned from their mistakes, and they're not going to make the same mistakes. So they're claiming their next game will be a ginormous game that's supposed to be groundbreaking, right? But apparently they're not going to make those mistakes again, right? So, all right, is this it, or is there just credits? Let's see here. I know there's no sequel. They're not working on a sequel. Nothing's announced.
Alright, I didn't want to finish the video on like a big sappy note. So, this is the end of the story, but there's still another few minutes. Don't leave. It's not an ad.
Huh.
Okay, in 2015, when the hype was at its peak, someone wrote a Sean Murray erotic fanfiction.
Oh my god.
And, naturally, I assumed that you lot would want to see it. So, here it is. My evening interview at Hello Games. I arrived at the Hello Games.
Oh, come on. I don't want to see this. No, I think I'm going to skip this. I would like to skip. I don't really want to see this erotic thing. Oh my god, this is serious. Look at this.
I nervously spoke. Could I try playing? I said. Oh, I suppose.
Oh my god. Nick just did a super chat, says, I'm waiting to get Star Wars. Is it worth it if they fix it? I would say yes. From what I've played of the game, I like it, but I wish that they would fix it.
Redacted.
It was an out-of-world experience. Oculus Rift support, he uttered sensually. As I turned, I saw Sean's avatar standing before me in a beautiful, procedurally generated spacesuit. Like what you see, he said. It's time, everybody, he shouted. I heard footsteps slowly enter from the cramped office. I soon saw many spacesuits appear before me in-game. But as they took off their helmets, I realized that they were all the same Sean Murray avatar. I was about to be
redacted
by a group.
All right, that's enough of that. That is definitely enough of that. Holy shit. All right. Anyway, the Engoodening of No Man's Sky. Hey. I do like the fact, absolutely, I like the fact that it's a redemption story. I like redemption stories. However, you have to understand that for every, No Man's Sky, there's probably about 100 games that did not do the right thing. A game that, again, like he just said, Anthem. Anthem, a game that sold a lot at launch because everyone bought into the hype of, a game developer known for RPGs now making a new game. The game comes out, it's a piece of crap, and all support is cut for the game, and anyone who bought it is abandoned, and now they're on to the next project, right? At least they didn't do that. To their credit, however, to give you my perspective on it, I guess we can now do this. Get away from that incredibly disturbing scene here. I want to give you my final perspective on it, okay? You have to understand that where Internet Historian is coming from, which he outright said, and in his credit, he said this during his video, he was one of the insanely hyped fans of this game who wanted to be good, was disappointed at launch, but then kept going back to the well for more content as they updated it, and he loves it now. Someone like me, I was looking at this game, not from a perspective of someone who was looking for a great space travel traversal game and everything. Like, all the promises he made, I was like, it's great if they're in there, but I'm a variety content creator. This was not the main focus for me of 2016, nor was it anything that I was like hyper focused on or expecting much from. My opinion was if the game was good, great, but if it wasn't, no big deal, move on to other stuff. So for me, this game launches as a fail. It's a huge fail at launch. You saw my footage of it, right, in this video. And it's like, dude, this is complete trash. So I gave it another chance a year later. It was still trash. I mean, it was polished trash. They fixed the bugs. They made it functional. But it was still not a good game. It was still a trash game. And so for me, after that, I gave up on it. Maybe today, if I went back to No Man's Sky, I'd be like, wow, it's much better. But here's the thing, all right? I wanted to play No Man's Sky 7 years ago. I didn't want to play No Man's Sky in 2019, in 2020, in 2021, or 2023 today. I wanted to play it in 2016. And if it's not good, the first impressions are everything. The game's always going to be bad. Here's another example of that. Street Fighter V. That's a game that at launch was atrociously bad. It was unplayable for weeks. When they finally got it working, people found out it had the most input delay of any fighting game ever made. And for someone like me, that leaves such a bad taste in my mouth. I don't care if over a course of 5 or 6 years that the game was live, that in the last 2 the game is good. I don't care. I wanted to play it when it released. And if it's not good then I want absolutely nothing to do with it. And I'm sorry, but for, that there's been other games, like for example, Rainbow Six Siege is another one. At launch, it was insanely bad. And then what happened was they fixed it, and now it became a crazy competitive game with a big active scene and things like that online. Good for them. But that's what I mean. Like, this situation is very much in the gaming community the exception to the rule. This is, we happened to do the right thing and stick to our guns and fix the game and give you the promises that we made. Not all of them have been fulfilled, but they did the right thing. That's nice. So good on Sean Murray, because really, he was completely, absolutely destroyed by the entire gaming scene in 2016. But he redeemed himself, and now I think he's a well-reputed guy. People are looking forward to whatever the next game is, and they kind of trust him now to not make those same mistakes twice. And hopefully he doesn't, because you know what? In life, we all make mistakes, right? But if you can learn from those mistakes, improve yourself, and not repeat them, that's what it's all about. That's the true redemption arc of the human experience, right? So I hope Hello Games and Sean have learned, And they're not going to, like, I just read an article from late 2022 saying, oh, the next game we're going to do is bigger in scope than No Man's Sky. It's going to blow you away because it's procedurally generated, but we're not going to tell you what it is yet. Like, great. But, dude, don't promise a damn thing. Seriously, just fucking, you know, come to us when it's about to be out. And then start hyping. Don't give us years and years of hype beforehand. Every game that has these insane years of hype fails. Cyberpunk, right? Notable case. I can go back to games like Duke Nukem Forever and Daikatana from the 1990s that I remember. Any game that has that level of hype, you will never live up to expectation. So learn from the mistakes. Don't hype up your next game. Release a good one. 2 thumbs up. Do the right thing. But for me, it is kind of sad. This game essentially was a ripoff for me. Like, I never want to go back to it. I wanted to play it in 2016. I gave it a second chance in 2017. It's too little too late. I'm not going back to it another 7 years later or whatever to play it. I'm done with it, you know? It's great that other people have gone back to it and felt this redemption feeling. Good for you. But, you know, for me, I'm a variety guy. I didn't put all my eggs in one basket with No Man's Sky, so I wasn't crushed when it was bad at launch, and I'm not rejoicing because they actually redeemed it. It's nice they did, though. It's nice to know that there's people out there who actually have, like, morals, ethics, and they care. You can tell that when this game released and it was such a crushing failure because of all the promises that were made and were not lived up to. It's good to know that Sean and his team felt that feeling of remorse and feeling that loyalty to the customer base. We want to do the right thing for the customer. That is to be respected, and we need more companies that are like that. We really, really, really do. Not these companies that their game comes out, it runs like shit, it plays like shit, it's just a piece of dog shit, but they got everyone's money, so they don't care. On to the next project. So, bravo to Hello Games, and bravo to Sean Murray. You got my respect. I just don't like your game, but you got my respect. I hope the next one's better, and I hope it's good at launch, so I can actually enjoy it. And that's my thoughts on No Man's Sky and on the Engoodening of No Man's Sky. That's the third video now I've seen from Internet Historian, and I think this is good stuff. I really enjoyed that video. Again, it seems like it was well researched, especially the Sean Murray gangbang at the end here. Well researched, and I hope you enjoyed my react, whether you watched it live here today on DSP Reacts on the stream, whether you're watching this on demand after the fact. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to give the video a like if you enjoyed it, please do. If you'd like to possibly leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. What was your experience with No Man's Sky? I'd love to hear your experience with the game and what you think. If it was on par with mine or different. And hey, if you would like to support this channel in any way, membership is the best way. But if not, hey, anything else, you could maybe leave a super thanks on the video if the thing is still available. I don't know, because these videos tend to get claimed. Maybe a tip. Thank you. Thank you so, guys. And I hope that you guys enjoyed my long-form react content here to Internet Historian. All right? Until next time, thank you all very much for watching. And I'll see you all later. Peace out. Thanks all for the views. Bye-bye.